Have you ever looked at a spider and felt a little uneasy? Most people do. Something about them just triggers that instinctive pull back. But if you stop and actually look at a spider's web, there's something almost breathtaking about it. On a cool morning, with dew clinging to every thread, the whole thing catches the sunlight like a piece of delicate lacework. It's genuinely beautiful. And in ancient Greece, when people looked at spiders, they didn't just see a creepy crawly. They saw a story, a tragic one. The story of a woman whose pride led her to challenge a goddess, and who paid a price she never could have imagined. This is the myth of Arachne, one of the most dramatic transformation stories in all of Greek mythology. Arachne was an ordinary girl from Colophon, a city in the ancient region of Lydia. Her father was a dyer by trade, someone who worked with fabrics and colors, which in those days was a craft that sat somewhere between skill and art. From a very young age, Arachne showed an almost supernatural talent for weaving. The cloth that came off her loom wasn't just well made, it was stunning. Work that would take most weavers weeks, she finished in days, and the quality was beyond anything her neighbors had ever seen. Word spread fast. People traveled from distant towns just to watch her work. Even the nymphs of the forests, according to the myth, would gather at her workshop to marvel at what her hands could do. But somewhere along the way, the praise started to go to her head. People would say her gift must have come from the gods, that surely Athena herself had blessed her with this talent. Arachne rejected that idea completely. She would say, "This is my skill. No one taught me. No god gave me this. It was hard work and natural ability, and nothing else." And then she went further. She said that even if Athena herself came down and challenged her to a weaving contest, she wouldn't lose. In the world of Greek mythology, that kind of statement is basically lighting a match next to a fire. Challenging a god, even in words, almost never ends well. Athena wasn't just the goddess of wisdom and warfare. She was also the goddess of crafts, and weaving in particular was her domain. She took it seriously, so when word reached her that a mortal girl was boasting she could outweave the goddess herself, Athena didn't ignore it. She came down to earth, disguised as an old woman, and found Arachne directly. She gave her a quiet warning. "I respect your talent," she said, "but don't challenge the gods. Pride like this tends to lead somewhere you don't want to go." It was genuinely good advice, but Arachne laughed it off. She said she meant every word, and that if she lost, she would accept whatever punishment came her way. That was the moment Athena dropped the disguise. The old woman was gone, and in her place stood the goddess in full, radiant and unmistakable. Everyone around them fell to their knees in awe. Arachne didn't move. She held her ground and looked the goddess in the eye. That moment, a mortal staring down, an immortal without flinching, is one of the most striking images in the entire myth. And so the contest began. Both of them sat at their looms and started to weave. The speed and precision of their hands left onlookers speechless. Athena wove a magnificent scene of Mount Olympus, the gods in all their majesty, and woven into the edges were cautionary images, mortals who had dared to defy the gods and suffered for it. It was a warning, stitched directly into the fabric. Then came Arachne's work, and here is where the myth gets complicated. Because technically, her weaving was extraordinary. Some versions of the story suggest it was every bit as good as Athena's, maybe even better. But what she chose to depict was something else entirely. Arachne filled her cloth with scenes of the gods at their worst. Zeus disguising himself to deceive mortal women. Poseidon, Apollo, god after god, shown in moments of weakness, manipulation, and self-interest. It wasn't just skillful weaving. It was a takedown. A beautifully crafted one, but a takedown nonetheless. Athena looked at what Arachne had made, and she was furious. Not simply because of a lost competition. What Arachne had woven was a direct assault on the dignity of the gods. And the thing that made it sting even more was that none of it was entirely wrong. Athena tore the cloth apart. She destroyed the loom. And then she struck Arachne across the face. For a master weaver, someone whose entire identity was built around her craft, that humiliation was unbearable. Overwhelmed by shame and despair, Arachne tried to take her own life. But Athena stopped her, and what she said next is the cold heart of this myth. Death, she told Arachne, is too easy. You will live, and you will keep weaving forever. With that, Athena transformed her. Arachne's body shrank down into something tiny and dark. 8 legs grew where arms had been, and the hands that had once created works of breathtaking beauty now spun silk thread into webs in the corners of walls. She would weave for eternity, just as she had always done. But everything had changed. What makes this myth linger is the tension at its center. Arachne was genuinely talented. Her pride wasn't completely without basis. And yet pride without limits, especially when it tips into contempt for forces larger than yourself, can become its own kind of trap. The gods didn't erase her talent. They couldn't, but they reshaped it into something she could never escape. The spider in the corner of your room, spinning a perfect, intricate web that almost no human hand could replicate, is still doing what Arachne always did. Still weaving, still brilliant, and still, in the myth at least, paying the price. The story of Arachne leaves us with a question that doesn't quite go away. How much of what you're capable of truly belongs to you? And whatever the answer is, are you ready for where that belief might take you?